Hi, I am here with Sebastian Fruner, the co-writer and executive producer of Dreamfactory, and Martin Schreier, the co-writer and director of Dreamfactory. Hi, Martin. Hi, Sebastian.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
Hi there.
How are you guys doing during this the lockdown here? You guys aren't having as much of a lockdown there, are you?
Yeah, the lockdown in Germany is pretty much over. Everyone is living their lives as there is no disease, but the numbers are rising at the moment. So we are expecting a new lockdown very soon if we can't do anything against the virus.
I have another problem. It's very hot in here right now. It's 35 degrees, I think. The summer just broke out, and we don't have any AC here in the studio because it's the oldest studio in the world. We just have hand fans, as you see there in the background. Maybe I can figure out how we work this out. Mr. Dover, maybe can you please come and bring me some AC? But this is my problem I have. Much nicer now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I like that.
That's how I do. That's how executive producer watches the movie.
I think one of the things that's really fascinating about this movie for Americans is we don't really know that much about DIFA Studios. And particularly, I think a lot of Americans will be surprised to find out that there was this active film studio in what was East Germany during the period that the Berlin Wall was still up. Even now, after so many years, there's a lot we don't know about these films, and they're only kind of coming to our attention now. I was wondering if you guys could talk about that, because that's a big part of this film.
Yeah, you know, it's so amazing that the studio is the oldest film studio, the oldest big film studio in the world, and Fritz Lang shot Metropolis there, and all his movies, and all the great German cinema comes from Studio Babelsberg, from the DEFA studios, as they were called years before it was called Studio Babelsberg. And it's so amazing. There's so much history in these walls. You know, when you go through the halls and everything, you feel the spirit of the old days, of the magic of filmmaking, and that was something that inspired us when we met with the producer Tom Ziegler, who sadly passed away, and he said, let's do a film in the film studio. And so we went through all the halls and everything, and I had the idea. I said, okay, let's do a film in the 60s, in the golden ages of cinema, you know, where everything is handmade and no green screens, nothing, where everything is hand painted and built with that was the magic that went through us when we walked through the studio. And it's amazing. Even big films from the US are shot there. Matrix 4, for example, is shooting right now. Sebastian, maybe you can tell something about what's going on right now in the studio.
No, what important is for the studio, it went through 5 different time phases. It was before it was 1912, it was founded. So it went through all the world wars, you know, then afterwards went to East Germany, had become a socialist regime that run the studio and tried to do also movies for their cause, you know. There's a lot of movies from Indiana Filme, they were called in East Germany, the Native American movies. So
Westerns.
Westerns, and as a genre in the Westerns, they did a lot. It was very, very, very big in East Germany. They shot it though in Studio Babelsberg and in Croatia a lot. What I think what Martin said, why we took also the 1960s was because how they made movies back then. And we had a lot of people that lived back there, like contemporary witnesses. We were meeting before we did the movie, and we're like listening to their stories. And you know what? It's so crazy. And what back then happened at the studio, I think it's fun, and how movies were made is, I think, much more crazier and funnier and crazier stories than it happens now. I think we could have had made, Martin, correct me, but we could have made a comedy out of this movie. So many stories were, and crazy stories.
Funny stories.
That it's a very nice spirit here in the studio, and I think, as Martin said, a long time.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, the GDR. Everyone thinks about GDR as a great place, and everyone was oppressed and everything. But the studio was an island full of creativity, of color and everything. And that was something we wanted to capture. And even though the political regime around it was so gray and so dark and everything, we tried to tell that there was light in these dark times.
I think that part of the story is fascinating. And I was reading a little bit about that. It sounds like, how much freedom did they have within the studio to pursue their own projects within reason, obviously?
Sebastian?
Yeah, there was a possibility, but sure, you had here more than 100 directors sitting on site here at Babelsberg, and in the end there was like 5-6 who was working in the end. So I think there was a
and they were from the political regime, right? They knew how exactly what to do.
Yeah, you had to be pro the regime, and there was possibility. There were people like then later Michael Gwistek also, you know. Because Michael Gwistek also, he plays the grandfather, and he also said when we made the movie, told us it's exactly his story also. He said, I'm feeling like the Emil as he was, you know. I was struggling, I wanted to do my own stuff, and he was also director. He was trying to make this movie, and I don't have the name right now, but he was 2 years he was begging to do this movie, and they didn't want to do it. In the end, he somehow did it because he said, I leave the country, I'll do something. And then he made it. And then he won with Venedig, I think.
Oh, it was Ken, I think Ken. Yeah.
You know, both Martin and me, we didn't live in this at that time. We had to have people that talk about it. And Tom Ziegler always told us, you know what, the good thing was, besides that it was a regime and, you know, had the freedom that you would like to have, but the people around you, the people that worked here, there was a very tight connection between all of them. So they felt really free, and they felt they could do what they wanted to do. And they had their group of people that were like, they had the same meanings of life and stuff like this. So that's why he always said, that's why we did it. It's a little island, you know. That's why it's very colorful. That's why we tried to get another light on this particular part of the country and part of the work. That it's not as you always see in movies, that the GDR was bad and you were just killed and spied on you.
Mm-hmm. You know, Sebastian, you said something earlier that I think will be very interesting to the audience. The fact that you used kind of a fraction of the stories you heard from that time period in this film, that there were so many different kind of crazy things going on. What parts of the story, of people's stories, did you actually use in this film?
Okay, I can tell you one very funny thing. I think it's also from Tom. When he started here in the studio Babelsberg, he went here in the 80s, in the early 80s, he started to work here. And he always wanted to be a DOP, director of photography, cameraman. But he had a problem, he was colorblind. So you can imagine, a guy who's colorblind wants to be a DOP. Mm-hmm. And he would then be floor manager and started how he started here. But this is like a little story, and there's a lot of different other stories that we took from the people that told us and put it in the movie. You see the guy who does later than the Cleopatra movie and is the cameraman, the DOP, is colorblind. Or the story that Emil walks with the geese through the studio. It's also a real story. So we really try to get, the whole thing is a fictional movie. It's Martin came up with the idea.
Fictional story.
Yeah, it's a fictional movie, fiction. That Martin came up with the idea that the extra has to fall in love with a French movie star, or in the end with the assistant of the French movie star. But all the little stories around they have a true fact in it. So that's we tried it there. Maybe
Cleopatra was shot in the 60s. They shot a version of Cleopatra And we took all those little bits and pieces that were actually true, and we put it into this fairy tale that the grandfather tells his little boy there, and we made this fairy tale out of thousands of true stories, you know, to give you a feeling of what happened in these times.
It's so great, and I'm sure as a director who's you know, been on the set for years, there were certain aspects of certain characters you've dealt with that you probably had fun putting in there.
I didn't put, well, the thing is, you know, I had so great experiences making films. It was always like family when you do a film, when you are together on set for such a long time, and that's why I felt so much love for the characters, and even the small ones, as for example the cameraman, and even if you look at the small characters in the background, we put so much love and effort into it to show that these guys are people who live for their dream to make films, to tell stories. And yeah, I hope this translates, the passion for making movies translates through the characters onto the big screen.
Absolutely. Martin, the opening shot is just fantastic. The long shot with all the extras in the costume and the props being carried around and all that. I would think that was a pretty hard shot to work out, especially with the freeze in place and all that. How difficult of a shot was that?
Well, the problem, it was really difficult because it's around 2.5 minutes, I think, and we have 300 extras or so, and animals and everything has to be in place. And but it turned out really, really well. I think we needed 11 takes to get it right. And the problem is, the biggest problem is to get everything back to the beginning, you know. when you have to redo the shot, everyone has to go back to their positions, and this takes a lot of time. So that's the biggest problem, actually. But the most complex thing is to envision this shot without the people, you know. When you're sitting there writing or prepping the shot, you don't have all those people to see what. And I'm really glad how it turned out, and we worked on the shot, I think, for 6 months, maybe not the entire time, right. But it took us 6 months from start to finish to get the shot done, and it was so much fun. It is, you know, when you watch the monitor and you see that everything clicks and everything works, it was amazing. It was really, really fulfilling.
Now, it's one of those dream shots in a film where I remember when I was first screening this film, that opening shot to me was like, okay, this is our first film, isn't it? This is our opening film for the festival, I think. When you see something like that control and all those details in there, it was so fantastic.
I remember I remember the day Martin was going around with the iPad. When we started to make the shot, you remember our storyboarder, you know, the dromedar, which walks the dromedar, was our storyboarder on the video. Maybe we have to find the video and share it to you, because it's the funniest thing. Everyone from the team is one of the groups, you know, walks, and I remember Eddie was like walking as a dromedar. And the end, we all worked out as Martin.
Yeah, and I was walking with the iPad.
Wonderful shots. I remember. So 6 months before we shot them.
Yeah. And you know, I'm not a fan of using film techniques for the sake of film techniques. You know, I'm not saying, oh, I want to do a one-shot sequence there, but I felt it necessary in this moment so that you, as an audience, you are thrown into this new universe like Emil is, right. You know, and I didn't want to cut. I wanted to feel everything that he sees, and that he's overwhelmed by everything. Yeah, and so I decided to make it a one-shot, because I think it's really necessary at this point to throw you in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to also ask about the character of Beatrice Moret. The lead actress that the studio wants her and is afraid of her at the same time. Her character seems very specific. Was there any inspiration for the creation of that character?
Yes, I won't tell names, but it's based on a real character, and there were a lot of French productions shooting in the studio at these times. So we were inspired by true characters and true events, and you know how it is. Star power. She had star power, and everyone was doing what she wanted. And so we came up with the idea that the studio boss hates the script, doesn't want to do the film, but when she said, I want to make this film, he has no other choice, and he's doing the movie.
So you're not going to tell me who your inspiration is.
I'm so sorry.
That's fine. I understand. You have to make more films.
Yeah.
And so Emilia plays her body double or her dancing double. And did she have her own dancing double, or does Emilia do all of her dancing in the film?
Well, actually, Emilia is a pretty good dancer, and she's doing, I think 90% of the dancing she's doing herself. But we had a Russian dancer who's dancing at the Russian ballet, I think. Yeah, they helped us to make this film, and we had a dancer there who danced in Russia as well. At I don't know where exactly, but she did some shots that Emilia wasn't able to do because she's not a professional dancer, But she did 90% of her own dancing. And she trained very hard for it. Months before the shooting, she trained.
And it was actually the first 2 shooting days were the final dance. So we started with the end. We started with the big dance. We started with the elephants. So we had the biggest
exactly. The thing is, you never start with the ending. Yeah, you wait. You have to warm up. You start with something very easy to get in the groove. Yeah, but we had to shoot the ending of the film on the first 2 days, and everyone was freaked out, and we didn't know if everything would go well. But it turned out good.
Yeah, the good thing is, after these 2 days, everyone watched the footage we were shooting, and everyone was in love. Everyone said, "Okay, that
was excited," and we got the biggest chunk from our bag, so everyone was relieved, and the rest was a walk in the park.
Another thing that really surprised me in the film was when the song "Stand By Me" suddenly starts playing, and at first it seemed like, oh, this is just from a totally different world. Where did this come from? And so I was curious. I looked it up, and that song was actually released the very year the Berlin Wall went up. So it was historically right on. What led you to choose that song for the film?
Well, actually, I love the song first and foremost, but the meaning of the song, "Stand By Me," it's, Emil doesn't want Milou to leave. And so it fit perfectly. Mm-hmm. And it was from the outside world, it came from a place where freedom lived and where no borders and everything was. So it had a little bit of a political message as well. And we could have gone with German or GDR song.
And it's the only song besides of the Helene Fischer song. Yeah? So we really put this on as a message also. Yeah?
No, it works really well. And it was just historically fascinating for me as an American to realize this was exactly the same time period. It's, I think that's something that we miss a lot, where in other countries, the impact that certain things have.
Yeah. And America for those guys, even for Tom Ziegler, our producer, the America was always the place of freedom and everything. There was always the dream to go to America. And Tom Ziegler went after the wall fell down. The first thing he did, he went to the US and made a road trip. And there's a pretty successful German movie about his adventures in America. The film is called Friendship.
Oh wow! I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
So this speaks to something else that I was really thinking about this the second time I watched the film. The film does not end the way that I think a lot of Americans will expect it to end. I think a lot of Americans will expect that he's going to escape to France with her, with Milou, as opposed to her staying with him. But, you know, particularly after reading about the studio and watching the film a second time, I realized that that's not the story you're telling. You're telling a very different story. I was wondering if you guys could talk about that. Why does the film have to end the way that you ended it?
Well, the thing is, it's not just you who thinks the film should or maybe could end in another direction. Even in Germany, everyone was thinking, wow, would you stay in such a country where you are oppressed and everything? And I said, yes, we're telling a story about love, and love is bigger than anything in this world. And if you love someone, you just don't care what's around you. You just want to be with this person. And that was the message we wanted to send out. And the thing is, we had so many people who told us their stories that they stayed in the GDR because of love. And that's not very uncommon. In our times today, we think, okay, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't stay in such a country. But there were people at this point. And if you think about it, if you're married or so, what would you do for your wife? What would you do for the one you love? What is more important, love or being in this country? And the thing is, what we wanted to show with the film was also that it wasn't all bad, you know. The people there was this political regime that oppressed everyone and everything, but the people there were actually they had fun. They had fun. They were happy sometimes. It wasn't all bad, you know. And that was a message as well, that it's even in the darkest times, there can be good people, and there can be the island where you can be happy, and where you can try to get out of this misery, you know.
Absolutely. And I think that message really comes across in the film. And it's one of the things that I really grew to appreciate about the film, especially as I took it in more and watched it a second time. So,
cool.
Guys, I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us about your film.
It's our pleasure, and we're so happy, and we're so thrilled that your audience is going to see our movie. And you know, the film went all around the world. We were in India. Actually, we were there before COVID. We could go there, and it's so amazing to see that love everywhere on this planet, even if we are not political on the same page. Love is something that unites us, no? That's the message everywhere comes through. You know, that's so amazing, and that's why I'm so thrilled that you guys are going to see the film and show the film, and I'm really thankful and grateful.
Thanks, and Sebastian, thank you as well for spending your time with us today.
Thank you guys for having us. We really feel sorry not to be there. We would really like to be at your place.
Next time when we're through this crisis.
Maybe with the next movie, we're on it. So we will see. But very nice.
Guys, take care.
One love.
That's great.